Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Karl Weaver. I am a wireless market mobile device specialist. I've been focused on the greater Chinese markets since 1985. I've been doing business in the handset ecosystem since the year 2002. Basically in the wireless industry, 20 years here in Washington State. I just returned after spending 5 years for the world leader in digital security. My company's called Gemalto, right here. Oh, there you go. Gemalto is the global leader in digital security. They make all the credit cards, the debit cards. They even make the NFC that goes into the U.S. passport. Unfortunately, it's not being used by the U.S. government. I don't know why. We talk about security, but we're lacking in it. So this afternoon, I want to tell you a story about how an American from Seattle was giving a presentation in Las Vegas, CTIA show in 2008, and I got recruited to crack chickens and eggs. I got recruited to promote this thing called Contactless Mobile NFC in China. It doesn't always make sense, okay? So I'm an American, and this is a French company, and they hired me on the spot because they needed a guy who could take this technology and evangelize it to the handset manufacturers, of which it's mostly Taiwan and China, South Korea and Japan to a lesser extent. In 2008, I said to myself, what is NFC? Because I was in the same boat. I had only seen it once in Hong Kong in 2007 with Nokia and Visa jointly promoting at a trade show. But they hired me because they needed an evangelist who could evangelize the designing of this technology to all the handset manufacturers in Taiwan and China. But I didn't realize my role grew to be much larger. My role grew to connections with China Mobile, China Unicom, China Telecom, and of course China UnionPay, which is absolutely the most powerful organization in China in the technology space. If you think it's not really China Mobile, it's actually China UnionPay, and I'll explain as we go on. So today's presentation, I hope you like it, because what I'm doing is I'm bridging technology that's going on here now with ISIS and technology that the French put into play, the French and the Dutch kind of put into play around 2002. This NFC technology was invented around 2002, commercialized around 2004, but you didn't start to see simple handsets until 2007. Nokia was the first manufacturer, but by the time I came, they were the only manufacturer, and they weren't doing a good job of evangelizing the technology. They still haven't done a great job of evangelizing the technology, and so they've lost that mantle. They could have been the leaders in this. Samsung, unfortunately, well, fortunately for them, is the unfortunate leader. They were reluctant to become the leaders in this technology, but they are. So today's presentation, I'll talk about the smart card industry, which is really important. Then I'll talk about payments, what's going on in Greater China, and what's going on in the United States. This technology did really migrate from France to Greater China, including Singapore, including Korea, Japan, to the United States. It really was Texas, but Seattle has an ISIS office, so Seattle is critically important because we have future huge payment companies here. We have Amazon dying to get into payments in a big way, mobile payments. We have Microsoft that has a mobile wallet, although I have no idea what Microsoft's plans are. I'm not sure if they know. We have ISIS with a small little office here. We have Nintendo, believe it or not, doing NFC things. We have Amazon. Have I missed anybody? Basically, those are large technology companies. Heck, Boeing could probably be using this technology as well down the road. So, it's really important that I explain, though, I'm sorry, it's a bit techy, but the key point here is that these smart cards are very critical for the future development of the banking industry in this country. People say, well, why do we have to go to a smart card? You have to, because the rest of the world has already migrated. We are laggards in this country. We are the last major country on the planet that does not use a protocol called EMV, which stands for UnionPay, Visa, MasterCard. This technology is migrating. So if you have the technology in a credit card, it's essentially a SIM card, isn't it? It looks very, very similar to a SIM card. That's because it is essentially a similar kind of storage capability. So when you have contactless payment, you will have the same capability in the smartphone, because a credit card user, contactless credit card user will eventually migrate to using the smartphone to do the same function. Okay, so you have smart card types. Contact means there's no wireless. Contactless, and then of course you slide it into a card reader. Contactless means it's using NFC. Now, what I have here are contactless cards from around the world. Hong Kong, United States, Shanghai, Visa. I have, and this is even in Miami. Did you realize we're using contactless in this country? We don't even know it. Ben, can you pass that around? All right, so you have contact and contactless that gets inserted into a card reader, or if it's contactless, you simply tap the point of sale device. That uses the ISO 7816 protocol. Now, contactless, you don't touch it. You have to be within 4 centimeters of the point of sale device for it to read it. That is using a different kind of technology we call ISO 1443. Now, it uses one and only one frequency. So I have people say, oh, it's just like RFID. Absolutely not. It's not even close to RFID. They're totally different, although they're like kissing cousins. They do similar things, but they're not the same. This only operates on 13.56 frequency range. Now, so that's what a smart card is. It can be a credit card or anything else you want to make it. Loyalty, ticketing, couponing. You can use this technology. In fact, who here works at Microsoft? Can I see a badge? Hold it out. Let me see. Hold it up. Hold it up. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're not going to tell the world who you are. All right. See this? This is made by Gemalto, the company I work for. You could have your Orca card in this right now. You could have this whole, you could actually eliminate this and have it your smartphone. But it's not happening yet. Why not? Microsoft needs a kick. Thank you very much. All right, secure element, secure IC cards. It is essentially a tamper-resistant smart chip, or it's actually firmware that goes into the SIM, okay? And it's secure, you cannot crack it. It's tamper-resistant. Basically, it's for the storage of transaction, of payments, and other essential credentials. Think of it like this. It is like a storage facility for all your things, maybe your furniture. Well, in this case, with the SIM card, we have 3 major stakeholders. We have the transportation companies around the world, we have the banks around the world, and we have the MNOs, the mobile network operators, the wireless operators. All 3 play a huge stake in mobile payment because they're the large infrastructure vendors for us consumers when we make purchases of things. So those 3 are involved. They all have an independent storage locker where they can independently manage the account of the subscriber. It is independent. People get the reality, they think that the operator controls the SIM card. They control the SIM card, but they do not control the payment because the payment is done by a third party, what we call a trusted service manager. Anyway, we're getting too far. I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself. There are 3 types of form factors for contactless in the world today. You have a micro SD. Yes, you can put NFC and micro SD. You have a SIM card, and then you can embed it into an NFC chip itself. So there are 3 ways to do that. Now, how does it work? It actually contains an operating system in this chip, in this SIM card or this credit card. There's an operating system. Now, multiple system interactions, all of these interact with the SIM card. There's an organization that controls this technology, standardizes this technology. It's called Global Platform. They standardize the secure element in the SIM card, and also a technology that I worked on for Gemalto called the Trusted Execution Environment. That is the highest level of mobile security that you can find on a smartphone today beyond the SIM card. There is nothing else. You're going to find there's all kinds of hype in the industry and all kinds of fragmentation in this market because people are operating on greed and profit rather than on security. And I hate to say that, but the operators are to blame, the banks are to blame. Sorry, any bankers here? Not everybody, but the key point here is you cannot put security second, and they are, and that's a bad thing.
I got a quick question. Would you prefer that the address is at the end?
Probably at the end is better because I've got to get through this. All right, so security domains. As I said, you have storage lockers here. They call it a security domain. It's a storage locker. With this storage locker, you can store all kinds of information, but actually, who manages it is a third-party organization. Gemalto has a TSM, this thing called the Trusted Service Manager. If you're in mobile payment, you need a Trusted Service Manager because they independently manage when the handset gets stolen, the security of the handset, the provisioning of the handset. All right. We'll get through this rather technical stuff and then get to more interesting stuff, okay? Secure element and NFC phone. My job was to make sure that all the handset manufacturers, including Nokia, well, Nokia had it, Motorola, Sony, Ericsson at that time, Samsung, LG, the Tier 1 foreign vendors, the Tier 1 Chinese vendors, the Tier 2 Chinese vendors, designed in this technology. Here's how it works. You have your mobile apps processor chip. Here's your mobile apps processor chip, sometimes it's on the top. And here's your SIM card. And here's your secure element. And here's your NFC chip. You have to have an NFC chip, and you also need an antenna. That interfaces with a wallet. The wallet from the consumer touches the point of sale device, and it must be no more than, technically speaking, for the standard, within 4 centimeters. Although better sensitivity will give you a little bit more distance. So 4 centimeters for the point of sale device. Again, there are different form factors. This NFC controller actually has a software stack. Microsoft developed their own software stack. We sold, when I was with Trusted Logic, a Gemalto company, we sold the software stack to Google. That's why these Google handsets are using it. Now they've switched over to another software stack. You need a software stack. You need a mobile wallet to do mobile payment. How do you do mobile payment without a mobile wallet, right? You need something that allows you to replace this on the phone. There are various protocols that are used. I wouldn't get too confused with these, but they are standards. For anybody who says NFC has no standards, they don't know what they're talking about. Smart OS. There are various OSs that support NFC. Did you realize that actually, it isn't just, people say just Google supports NFC. It's not true. It's not true. Because, actually, BlackBerry supports NFC. And various other companies, various other operating systems support NFC. I have my NFC BlackBerry here. Oh my God, don't laugh. It's a little old, but it's still a great phone. Did you realize this has NFC? I want to show you an interesting thing in just a moment. But you have a smart operating system, and you actually have the secure element has this operating system as well. And so essentially, security domain is required. That's the architecture I was involved in promoting. Now, that's the secure element, the smart card, smart chip. Let's talk about what happens when you put it into a mobile device. Near-field communications, it's a wireless protocol that enables contactless transactions and other data exchange within a variety of devices. It's an RF wireless technology. These are the standards. MyFair is actually something from NXP. NXP was one of the co-founders of this technology, along with Sony. NXP basically was Philips before they spun out to be called NXP. They were originally Philips and Sony invented the technology, and Philips spun this out to NXP. NXP is now the holder. NXP has a lot of IP. MyFair is used primarily in almost all the transportation companies, countries around the world. The companies in all these countries use MyFair for the transportation sector. Hong Kong, all of these countries use MyFair. Because it's secure. Payment, ticketing, access, all of these are nothing but use cases for NFC, used in conjunction with the mobile UI or the wallet. You need a wallet in order to enable. Google has a wallet, ISIS has a wallet. There are 3 modes which are really important. People don't realize there are 3 modes you can do. You can do so many things with this. All right, so read-write mode. I'm going to show you read-write mode right now, if I can, if you will allow me. All right, so my badge. Does anybody know who the GSMA is? GSMA is the organization that regulates the whole wireless industry. My badge is an NFC tag. When I do this, I just read an NFC tag. It says, Karl, continue. No. I just read my NFC tag. I programmed this to read my name, my organization, my phone number, and it says this is an NFC tag. That is an example of read or write mode. You can actually write new information into a tag. So it's really kind of cool storage. You can put information in. This technology is behind smart posters. You will see in subways smart posters in the future where you can take your cell phone and simply go up to the, take your cell phone, go up to the poster, swipe it, and get the poster, and get the map of in the subway or where you're going outside, upstairs. It's really, really cool. This is already going on in many countries in the world, including France. Peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer is simple. I take, or it could be more complex, I take two phones and I can transfer information. I don't have to tap it. I don't have to kiss it. I have to get it within 4 centimeters, and I can transfer information. Now, that's not really the same as Bluetooth. But what the beauty is you can take this. I worked with Jetco. Jetco is developing this technology to put in their ATM machines. You can take your handset, deposit, withdraw money from your ATM machine down the road for NFC. It is secure. Card emulation mode. That is the mode. You see all these cards that I passed around in this in that accumulation there. Yeah, those are what you call card emulation mode. They emulate a card. The smartphone can do all of that. Why carry all of this stuff when you? I mean, come on. Look at me. I mean, I have a lot too. Why carry that when you can put it in the smartphone? We don't want to go back to the future. We want to continue moving forward to the future. So don't listen to all these bridging technologies that you hear coming out. NFC is secure, NFC is important, and it is moving forward. It is moving forward. Look at all the use cases, lots of different use cases. In the subway, your ID badge, you can program it on your smartphone. You can actually program it on. Lenovo has NFC in their notebooks and tablets now. Smart poster, ticketing, all kinds of apps, all kinds of applications and use cases. Now, this is true. You might say, well, Karl, no, I don't believe it. There's an organization called IATA. Anybody familiar with this? The International Airline Transportation Organization. They were going to release the specs for this for usage in all the airports around the world, but they stopped because concerns about security. That's because people were not using the SIM card for the secure element. You must use the SIM card or another technology for the secure element. CITA is another French organization. Well, this is a French organization, and they're designed with the whole network from when you enter the airport, go into the customs, to when you leave the airport. This is the organization. You can check them on your cell phone, your smartphone. This is the organization responsible for that. It's a French organization. The French pretty much control this technology. Gemalto is a French company. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about, well, look at this. So what is this? This is using an external point-of-sale device with a piece of software, you might call it a wallet, to make an external mobile payment. This is what we call, you can call this mobile device POS to make a peer-to-peer mobile payment. Now, the technology I'm talking about is taking your smartphone and swiping a point-of-sale device. That's what we call peer-to-peer payment, contactless payment. You can use NFC, but Starbucks is not using NFC right now. They're using barcode. I'll tell you a secret. In the UK, they are using NFC. Only in the UK. Why? Because they pretty much have no choice. Now, that's what we call offline proximity. I'm right there at the point of sale. That's proximity payment. We have also remote payment where I just use the browser of my handset and I go online and I make the payment. That is online. Wastes a lot of battery. That is what Alipay and Tencent are using, but they have also been using barcode. We'll talk about that, how the Chinese government has just said no to barcode. A little premature, but they're concerned about the security. So recently, in the past week, they said no to barcodes. You can't use it, but Starbucks is using it. Well, there is a problem with barcode security. There's a problem because barcode is what we call line of sight technology. It doesn't radiate a signal like NFC does. It doesn't generate a signal. It actually is line of sight. If you don't get it correct, you're not going to read it. We move on. So how payments get processed? It's confusing because we have remote payment, we have proximity payments, right? We have payments with a credit card, swiping a mobile device here. There are all different types of payments. Andy, if I told you this was not really secure, what can you do about it, really? Because actually, you could do a lot about it, because this also has NFC, right? This handset has NFC. But it's convenient, and it's easy, and as long as you're not talking to a hacker, just don't download any third-party applications, because third-party applications cannot be protected from hackers around the world. I'm here to tell you, your phones are not safe and they're not secure as it is right now. They're not. They simply are not. The NSA knows that. Mr. Edward Snowden knows that. The Russians know that. They're very good at hacking. And unfortunately, China is also a hacker. So everybody's hacking everybody else. So let's not make this a political thing, okay? Everyone's hacking everybody else because we have lost a thing called trust. I wanted to bring that back with this technology because this technology is trusted. Do you realize Gemalto has been around for 30 years, formerly called Gem Plus? You realize that they sell to 450 operators around the world, and the debit cards and the credit cards, they manufacture them. Security is critical. The smart chip technology is proven. It's been around for at least 10, 15 years. People are using it all over the world. We need to get on board and do it fast, right? EMV is coming. I'll talk a little bit more about that. All right, so you have mobile at the point of sale, okay, the mobile wallet. You have mobile as the point of sale. That's that. You have mobile payment platforms. You have direct carrier. That's where the operator gets involved in the payment. And you have closed loop mobile. That's Starbucks. Okay, so Starbucks is doing closed loop with barcode. So they can protect it better. It's closed loop. They're managing the entire network. We have MasterCard, PayPal and Amex. This is Amex providing mobile payment platform. We have Verifone and Square. These are these devices here. Square has something similar. This one is actually a rectangle. Can't call it a square. And then you have these guys who make mobile at the point of sale. They make the wallets, or they provide the payment for the wallet. So you have mobile proximity payments, mobile web payments, mobile remote payments, mobile point of sale MPOS payments. It can get confusing. Sorry about that. Let me move on. Mobile wallets. Mobile wallets are critical. You can't really do mobile payments on a smartphone unless you somehow have a place to store it. Apple has, what do they call it? Passbook or Passport? They've got this wallet, but it's not really being used very well. Or they have a plan. Apple has a plan. But look at the players. You've got Google Wallet. They had a problem with ISIS last year. You've got ISIS. They have their wallet. Square has a nice software that you use, and then you have, Passport, not Passport, Passport. That's using barcode. ISIS is used, and Google, we're using NFC. Now Google is using NFC, but it's a little bit different. Square is basically payment information is transmitted to the store. Square, that's using kind of a remote kind of protocol. These are Android only, Android, iPhone only. Actually, BlackBerry also supports NFC. I just showed it to you in case anybody. And basically, many other operating systems. All it is a software stack. It's an NFC software stack. The real key point is which operators. The real key point is if you don't design around the standard, 13.56, ISO 1443 protocol, no operator wants to talk to you. Handset manufacturers sell to the operators normally. All right. So hardware differentiations, you're basically using various point-of-sale devices. Let me move on. I don't want to get too hung up into the mobile wallet. But basically, these are the players. These are all the players involved. ISIS is 3 operators only. I'll talk more about that later. All right. Now, we got through the technology side. Wow. Okay. Here we go. Now let's talk about some interesting things going on. I was involved in cracking chickens and eggs in China. But also, I was involved in nurturing relationships because the operators, wow, so arrogant. They wouldn't talk to a handset manufacturer. I had to have the handset manufacturer design the handset, and I actually had to take it to give it to the handset vendor and say, would you like to consider designing? The operators in China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, they don't want to have anything to do. They don't want to have deep relationships with handset vendors. They want to be as independent as they can because they don't want to rely on any handset manufacturers. They won't have a loyalty. They don't. You might think that the relationship was very close between Huawei and China Mobile or ZTE. It's not. It's not. I can tell you it's not. But let's look at what's happening now in China. It's very interesting. Alibaba has just announced an IPO in North America. Whoa! You realize that this organization is actually generating more payment transactions than Amazon. They're bigger than Amazon. Very, very interesting. Now, Alipay is stopping offline point-of-sale business because they have pressure from China UnionPay. I hate to say this, but in China, there's something called state-owned enterprises. And they're big, and they're huge, and they have lots of power, and you can't, and they have power, that's it. So I say China UnionPay is the most powerful. Now, Alibaba is very good, very powerful. Mr. Jack Ma, smart guy, very innovative, very creative. That is not really a typical Chinese company, I can tell you. I've visited their Hangzhou offices, and it's very interesting, creative organization. They were forced to route all post transactions through UnionPay. UnionPay says, I take a cut, I must take a cut. Current payments market share, wow, it's huge for Alipay compared to UnionPay. So here's the thing, NFC is the better technology, the more secure technology, right? And also controlled by the government. But Jack Ma, the very creative, very successful guy, he's saying, oh, well, let's care about security, but let's not make it priority number one. Let's make priority number one payments, which is what they've done by using barcode. Now, Chinese government said, well, okay, all right, we'll let barcode be used, and it has been used in China. But the problem is now hackers are salivating over the Chinese market to go in there and steal. Just like they are in North America, to come in and steal your payment because barcode is not secure enough. I can't talk about the whole security problems in this presentation, it's too in-depth. Alipay and Citi formed a relationship to introduce a virtual credit card. Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. So that means I don't have to go through China UnionPay? Well, that was the theory. Well, no. Alibaba is like a bank disguised as an e-commerce company. But Alipay plans to, they want to create a financial service organization. But what happened? The Chinese government about a week ago said, we bar virtual credit cards. They're in the cloud. Who knows how safe they are? Who's minding the store? We bar barcode. Now that's a big one. That's a sensitive one. They may change their mind because Starbucks is using it now. But Starbucks is a closed loop. So that's the situation in China with the NFC operators and UnionPay working together with the handset manufacturers to promote NFC. And there are a lot of NFC post terminals in the market because UnionPay paid for them and distributed them throughout China. This is the smart thing. Banks didn't do that in North America. They expected the post vendors or the MNOs or ISIS or somebody else to do it. We really need to be working together here. And sometimes government regulations help the proliferation of payment. It's just that simple. Now let's look at Tencent and Alibaba. Tencent, everybody in Asia uses WeChat, right? It's a great program. If you're not using it, you should be. It's a great program. Now, Tencent invented that, and then China Mobile said, well, wait a minute, I need revenues from this because you're taking too much bandwidth. Actually, Tencent is also another creative company. And then Alibaba has their Zhifubao, they have their Tmall, they have all kinds of online mobile payment solutions. These two companies are competing neck and neck. It's almost like a presidential election. It's really cool. It's great for competition. Unfortunately, Chinese government doesn't see it that way. They think security is the most important. I agree with them. Security is very, very important. You have to get the trust of the consumer. You must get the trust. So what we see is two aggressive organizations not really fighting with each other, just very competitive. And that's great for the entrepreneurial spirit. All right, China Mobile Payment summary. Look at the situation, though, Alipay, look at China Mobile and UnionPay. Combined, they have about 10% of the market. Whoa, Alipay, 60% of the market for payment. So these state-owned enterprises, which are a bit more rigid and less flexible, are saying, oh, this Jack Ma fellow. You know? And Jack's saying, well, you know, hey, we're just doing our thing. And so some people will say, well, this is on purpose from the Chinese government. Actually, the Chinese government recognizes the problems of security in China. It's a big, big problem. Look at the situation. China is for countries in Asia that have made the purchase with their mobile phone, 55%. Where's the United States? The United States is about 30%. 55%. Wow. So, e-commerce in China is mobile commerce. Clearly. These are, I'm not going to go through these, but these are just some of the user behaviors that I've collected from the internet to mobile, the tablet, online shopping, and e-commerce, that you can compare the United States to China. Now, let's talk about what's going on in Greater China, or what I call Taiwan, Hong Kong, and China. This isn't a political discussion, but there are 3 regions that do payment a little bit differently, and we need to recognize. I worked with Taiwan, Hong Kong, as well as China for the development of this NFC technology with the banks, with the MNOs, the handset manufacturers, and I worked a little bit with the Octopus, a little bit with EasyCard Corp. What's really cool about these 2 organizations is they basically said, look, I can do micropayments, small payments, with my same transportation card, and I make it so simple for the end user. I bought my first Badaton, or Octopus card, in 2005. I brought it back to Hong Kong in 2008. Works fine. I still had 50 Hong Kong dollars left on that card. Wow, that's really convenient. That's great. So what these organizations are transportation companies. They're not fighting with the banks. They're not fighting with the MNOs. They're saying, hey, I have a proven business model. It's working. I'm using it. Why don't you guys, you banks and operators, learn to cooperate better with each other? They basically allow you to make micropayments in 7-Eleven, in many, many stores in Hong Kong, also in Taipei. Starting to happen in Singapore, Korea, Japan. So, you know what? These guys said to Gemalto, I want a mobile app. The card, this card is fine, but can we put it in the smartphone? Because sometimes I forget these. I put it in my back pocket, I can't find it. I know people who bought like 3, 4 of these because they can't find them, right? And you probably put it in the smartphone. You're not going to leave it at home. You will leave this at home. You're not going to leave that at home. Plain and simple. And now, by the way, I have all of my debit, my credit, my ticketing, my exercise facility. Everything is now in my smartphone. It really does remove clutter from your workspace by having it all on the smartphone. And if you lose the handset with a trusted service manager, you can absolutely get a new handset, and you can lock the handset immediately. That's the job of the trusted service. They can tell you, if the handset is still on, they can tell you exactly where the handset is, because most handsets have GPS now. They can tell you exactly where it is, if it's still on. If somebody didn't take the battery out, they can tell you exactly where the handset is. All right, we move forward. Now, I just want to talk, because we're here at the Hong Kong Association of Washington. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Hong Kong. The Hang Seng, the Hong Kong banks and telcos are beginning to tether up. So this is Hang Seng Bank and PCCW. They're partnering for credit and smartphone NFC payments. HSBC has launched an NFC sleeve through iCards for iPhone. Now, these sleeves don't always work very well. I'm here to tell you. ISIS has a sleeve for the iPhone also. I hate to say just wait for Apple, but nobody knows when Apple's going to introduce NFC. However, the banks aren't waiting. The MTR, Octopus Business Model for Stored Value Contactless Transit Card. It is a transit card. It is closed loop, and it provides micro payments. You can make payments on small ticket items all over Hong Kong. It's a great card. It's simply the best implementation of contactless payment on the planet, because It's so small. Now Japan is the Japan and Korea have larger capacitive users. But in terms of using the card day in, day out, I think nobody beats Hong Kong. So Octopus enters mobile payment environment. They worked with Gemalto. Octopus mobile SIM card for mobile phone SIMs enables Octopus subway transit function and NFC functionality on the smartphone. There it is, right there. It is coming, coming, coming. Bank of China launched their microSD version. The problem with microSD is who manages and who controls it? The banks? The banks aren't in that business. The banks aren't in the business of coddling handset manufacturers as well. So that relationship is a bit tricky. Do the banks buy handsets? No. They may buy the microSDs to use, but I think we got a problem of scaling. You can't scale with a microSD. But Bank of China has introduced this in Hong Kong. Forward. Gemalto enables mobile NFC payments in Hong Kong. I was somewhat responsible for some of this, but since there are no handset manufacturers, my role was dealing with Octopus, Jetco, and CSL to enable or evangelize the NFC SIM card. And I was kind of a broker, telling these organizations I could get them in contact with the handset manufacturers in Taiwan and China, because they don't call handset manufacturers. They don't do that. Okay, move forward. Citibank and 3. 3 is owned by Hutchison Whampoa. They have a mobile wallet for NFC usage. There you go. You see the 3 Citi wallet. That's ongoing. They've got a bunch of handset vendors utilizing it. So there's a lot of activity for NFC in Hong Kong. Now let's go across the pond. Let's go from Asia back to North America. When I came back last year, I was very disappointed trying to talk to ISIS. I was very disappointed trying to talk to the operators. I was very disappointed seeing nobody doing mobile payment, except when I went into a Starbucks. And that technology is not really safe, or at least not. Again, back to the future. Why use barcode when NFC is so much better? And by the way, you can't use barcode on a subway, okay? You can't use barcode on a subway. I've been using NFC for a long time. Look at the situation, though. Consumers in America are beginning to adopt this technology. It's all around us, and we don't even recognize it. Your Microsoft badge, your hotel key, contactless key. It's all over, but not necessarily in payment. That's why we don't see it so clearly. But look at this. Who has an Orca card? Who has an Orca card? Bingo. NFC. I called Sound Transit and I said, are you thinking about putting this card in here? They said, well, we recognize that smartphones are becoming popular in the world today. We're really thinking about it, but we really think it's a few years down the road. I was tempted to say, excuse me, get on a plane for Asia. All right. Now, ISIS is being publicly criticized by lots of organizations. Why? Because ISIS represents the mobile network operators. It is a joint venture, and that joint venture is a payment platform that they own jointly with the, by all 3 operators. So it's a very interesting experiment here in North America. It really isn't going on like this anyplace else in the world, but what they've done is they've kind of said to the banks, come, we'll work with you. They've said to the credit cards, come, we'll work with you. But the banks that don't want to work with them, I think, will be making a mistake because they will scale because they have the 3 operators. Sprint was a member of this organization, but they decided to leave. And when they left, they decided to use a cloud approach, or were looking at a cloud approach. And what they did is they pilfered Microsoft's key NFC guy about 2 years ago, a guy named Miller Abel. So if you want to know why Microsoft isn't up to speed with this stuff, they lost the key guy. He went down to California to work for Sequent Software. All right, so when you go into T-Mobile, they will give you an ISIS SIM card. If you try to ask them any questions about the card reader mode, card write mode, they will not be able to explain it because ISIS has tried, but ISIS is spread too thin. Do you realize that this network launched last November? But there are very few people in the country who know what NFC means. NFC, during the Super Bowl, meant National Football Conference. When I discuss it with the operators in the city, they say, no functional clue. And so this is amazing that the technology, which I worked so hard to get on these handsets, I come back here, and I even talked to an ISIS person. She said, oh, we don't care about that SIM card stuff. I say, what? Say what? So the problem is that this company spread too far and too thin. However, you see, their biggest user today, which is Jamba Juice, is on board. But did you realize now Coca-Cola is on board, and many Coke machines you now see have NFC capability for payment. So there'll be an NFC sign, and you can make your payment if you have the ISIS mobile wallet. ISIS provides a mobile wallet, you download it, and there's the wallet, you download it, and then you can pay with various credit cards. It'll accept Amex, it'll accept Visa, MasterCard, let's see, Chase, those are some of the cards that it'll accept. Now, ISIS has a sleeve that goes on the iPhone because nobody wants to wait for Apple. Apple is playing around with the market. Did you realize Apple has at least 20 patents for NFC technology licensed with the US FTC? What are they doing? Well, they're interesting. They're not going to really launch NFC technology until they feel ready. But I believe that they will use NFC along with this thing called iBeacon. They will use both. They will give the user the option to do proximity or to do a remote payment situation when you go into their stores. But the adoption of this outside of Apple is going to be really difficult to do. Really difficult to do, I feel. All right, so we have a 50%, according to ISIS, 50% growth in users since launching last November. I gave my first presentation here on one day before this, one day before they launched. It was very interesting. They're also working with Toys R Us. They're giving you a 50% rebate. They're working with Jamba Juice. You can get free Jamba Juice until the end of this month, just by going to the store. You go to the store, and they'll give you a small free Jamba Juice. As many times as you want. You can walk in the store 10 times a day. You'll get a free Jamba Juice. That's the policy. It's a promotion. Running a promotion with Amex now. They have this Amex Serve card. Also, in New York City, they'll give you cab fares up to $100. ISIS is considering HCL, which is a disruptive technology that uses NFC. ISIS is introducing Incipio cases. They have it for the 4, the 4S, the 5, the 5S. T-Mobile is not promoting it, but AT&T and Verizon have the case. So if you have an iPhone right now, you can actually download the ISIS mobile wallet and do mobile payments. You can do it. A friend of mine did it. Now, NFC for coupons and loyalty. NFC is used for all kinds of applications. As I said, in the UK, Starbucks is using NFC, but not in their US stores. They will. Now this is interesting. Look at China. Barcode scanning, 30%. Mobile shopping, 43%. NFC, 20%. That's probably a high. And then mobile banking. So you see that in China, there's a lot of different ways to make a mobile payment. Now, we're coming to the end. I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of the problems of this technology that I see going on. This is a great slide. On one side, you see Google and the banks pushing the credit card companies, right? You see the sharks down here. You see MCX, that's a merchant customer exchange. You see PayPal, and you see them, and you see barcodes. What you see is Visa and MasterCard saying, we care about security. We have to care about security. We have Google saying, come on, HCL works, it works. We have banks saying, well, we're not so sure, but it looks interesting. On the other side, we have the TSM, which is owned by Gemalto, but promoting ISIS. We have the mobile network operators saying, hey, come on, secure element, the SIM card, very, very important. These are very, very important. So you see, the pull that's going on in this country is fragmenting the payment industry because too much greed, too much politics, and not enough consideration for security. Hello, if I'm a hacker, I think that my job security is there forever, if you think about this situation. We're almost at the, this is one more slide. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with Apple, iBeacon, and Bluetooth low emission compared to NFC. Both of these will work in collaboration. They're not competing with each other. They do totally different things. This is proximity. This is somewhat like remote payment, but it's actually not the same. I think that's basically... Okay, so we're almost finished here, Ben. I know you'll have a question. Here's the conclusion. Seattle is one of the key locations for the development of contactless mobile payment smartphones with the nicest office. AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, they're all here, they're all doing it. And all of these companies, Starbucks, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, all involved. Seattle is the portal to the Pacific. When you come through I-90, it says portal to the Pacific. But the Pacific is actually coming to Seattle in terms of payments. Amazon and Alibaba might use Seattle as a software programming talent battlegrounds for m-commerce and payments. Alibaba and Amazon, there's not a feud brewing, but there's healthy competition. But the competition that I see is for all the engineering talent running around here, the future mobile wallet developers, the future mobile payment developers. They're running around here between all these companies. Alibaba sees it, they're coming here to recruit. Amazon sees it, they're here, hiring. That's what I see. So it's in this environment I draw the connection of importance between Greater China and Seattle for mobile NFC payments. That's my presentation. Thanks. Now I'll take questions. I'm sure you have questions.